Hello everybody, it's Bander Tyrell and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be doing another video today on creating PBR materials for Second Life, and this one really focusing on what I'm calling PBR AO materials that jumpstarts the process for creating textures on 3D objects. It makes it super simple for you to do with just using 2D seamless textures where you don't even need to worry about PBR materials. And you won't need to use other programs unless you want to, like Photoshop or Substance Painter. Now there's some things that I'm going to do that I'm going to show you how to do them with Substance Painter and Photoshop. But if you buy a product like a prefab and it comes with PBR AO materials, you don't need those tools. But I'm going to show you how you can create your own PBR AO materials with nothing but an AO and Photoshop. Now, you can do the same thing in GIMP. I don't know how to use GIMP, so I'm not going to talk about it, but you can do the same thing there. So this is how you can create your own if you don't get them. But if you do have them, then how you can use them very effectively. And so it's a very simple process. So this is the bed that we're going to be looking at as we do this. I made this, it's part of my Zephyr series. This is the new one that I did today. And I did it over here in Blender. As you can see, this is it in Blender. And as I go through the process, I think about what are the different parts of the bed that I want to be able to texture separately. That's how I break it down. And so for this, I decided that I wanted each pillow to be separate. So they're separate objects, and each one has a material applied to it. This one has pillow 1 is the name of the material, and it doesn't matter what's in the material for now because I don't use Blender to output my materials. So I could, but I'm not doing that. And so this is pillow 2. Its material is called pillow 2. Then I have the mattress. That's called mattress. So I want each one of those to have their own texture so that I can texture them separately. And maybe I want to have different color mattress than I have pillows, and maybe I want to have two different patterns on the pillows so they look slightly different, right? Or completely different. And then this is the bedspread or comforter. It's called comforter. And so those kind of make sense. But then for the wood, I did the wood parts separately. I could have done them as one, but I think what I want to do is I might want to have two tones. So I might want to have one part of the wood using one texture, another part of the wood using a different texture. I might want one part to be white, another part to be black. So this gives me more flexibility. So I have three parts here. I have what I'm calling the headboard. And so the material is called headboard. I have one called footboard. And then I have one called frame. So that's the wooden parts. And then the last one on here is the floor shadow that I put down. And it's just a simple plane that's placed underneath the bed and has a very simple UV map, right? And it's got a material on it, and the material is called floor shadow. So once I do all that, I export this using Collada and create a DAE file. I take that same DAE file, I upload it into Second Life, and I take it into Substance Painter. So here it is in Substance Painter. And I haven't applied anything to it. I have some stuff over here that I was playing with, but none of them are applied. So this is just like you would get it when you first start it. So the only thing I've done is I did set a two-sided panorama for my lighting, and then I baked my textures, which is in the texture set settings tab. You scroll down until you see bake mesh maps. Then you go to the common settings, you set use low poly mesh as high poly mesh, and you set ambient occlusion, curvature, and thickness to have secondary rays of 256. And then you click bake selected textures, and it's going to generate all of my maps for me, including an ambient occlusion map, which is going to have all of the shading that I want where the pillows touch the bed and in between the boards and all that kind of shading. If you look up here, we'll set this to 2D, and then I'll show you the ambient occlusion. So that's what the AO maps look like. This is for the comforter, floor shadow, and these are based off of the UV maps that I created in Second Life. Or sorry, in Blender. Okay, so these are all of the different AOs that got generated by Substance Painter. Go back to 3D. All right, so now I want to export this out, and so I can export this in two ways. You go to File, Export Textures, and then for the floor shadow, I only want its AO. And right now, I also want to get a copy of the AO for all of the different parts. So I'm just going to export the AO first. So the first thing I want to do before I do that is I want to save my file. So save as and give it a name, because it applies that name to all of the things that get exported. And that's, I called it Zephyrbed 2. So that's everything's going to say Zephyrbed 2 at the beginning of it, which is much easier to find in my inventory when I'm looking for these things. Okay, so let's go ahead and export this. So like I said, I only want the AO. So you just click on the make sure everything's selected, click on it, and turn everything off but the AO. It has a diffuse, a normal, and a spec. This is what in the traditional materials for Second Life, which are called blend Fong. These are the three things that get created: diffuse, normal, spec. I don't need those. I'm not going to use them. I just want the AO. So turn everything off but the AO. Okay, so now I have the AOs for everything. Go ahead and hit export. And it's going to drop them into my export folder, which I have here. And here you can see comforter, floor shadow, footboard, frame, headboard, mattress, pillow, pillow 1 and pillow 2. Now, before I upload these into Second Life, I can't use the floor shadow like this, because if you look at it, it's white and gray. I don't want white and gray. I want gray on transparent, and Substance Painter doesn't output it that way for you automatically. There's a convoluted way you can get to it, but it's more work to do that than it is to do this. So we're just going to do it this way. What you do is you open up Photoshop or GIMP, and you open that image that we just had, which is right here, called Floor Shadow, and unlock it, and then add 3 layers. Bing, bing, bing. Take the layer that the image is on to the top of the stack of layers, and then directly underneath that, we're going to fill that with white. Then the one below that, the one below that we're going to fill with black. And then the last one we leave transparent. Now, go back and select the top layer which has our AO in it. And now we're going to use the magic wand tool, and we're going to get rid of the corners. Just select them and then hit delete. If this doesn't work, you imported your image instead of opening it, you have to rasterize the layer. It's in here somewhere. If you right click on this, I don't have to because it came in this way. But if it doesn't work, you have to rasterize the layer first. Okay, so I got rid of the 4 corners. And that's to help it blend. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to use the levels function to blend. This white is actually coming from the layer below it. See, it's this layer down here. You're seeing it through. So this is transparent, but we're seeing the white. And you can tell because now you can see black, right? And there you can see transparent. All right, so that's what you're seeing is this. I want to blend my shade into the white. So you have this really harsh line here that would show up in Second Life, and you don't want that. But even worse is you have a straight line right here, which straight lines your eye is going to see it, and it's going to. This one you might not notice as much, but the straight line you're definitely going to notice. So I can use Control L, which gives me the levels function, and then I can reduce this down and blend them in until this edge disappears. But because this goes all the way out to the edge, it's harder to do. So before I go do that, I also want to remove just a little bit from the edge so there's a little bit of white showing. So I just use the select tool here, and I just select a small section of it and then delete it. And I do that on all 4 sides because you don't want those harsh edges. A little more than that. How about right there? And then the last side over here. Okay. So now I've done that, and I've got white all the way around it. Then I can hit Control L, to bring up the levels tool, and then all you do is you take this triangle here at the not the one down here at the bottom, but there's 3 of them in the middle where it says input levels. You have a left, a middle, and a right. You want to take the one from the right and click and drag it and move it to the left until you reach this kind of the peak of this. Basically, this is showing you where it'll blend, right? So and watch the screen to the left. You can see it start fading out, but you can still see at the top and the bottom, more so than the sides, you still have a straight line visible, right? So keep moving over until that is no longer visible. It's still there, still there, still there. Oh, it's going away. And then go a little bit past that. Okay, so now it's gone. And the more I go, the less shadow I'm going to have left, right? So you don't want everything to go, but you want it to be about there is where I think it should be. That looks pretty good. And then hit OK. So now we have our shadow blended to the edge of the square image, kind of faded out so that it's going to look good. Now, the next thing we want to do is select only the bits that we want to fill with black and not the ones that we want to be transparent. And so to do that, we have to go to the channels tab over here. And we're going to come down to this little, looks like a bunch of little dots. And you're going to select that, which is going to, see it says, what does it say? Load alpha as a selection, load channel as selection. And so, yeah, that's what we want. We want to do that. And you'll notice what it did. It selects everything over here. It actually, what it does is it selected the alpha channel. So it's selecting all of the alpha pixels, right? But we don't want to fill the alpha with black. We want to fill the other ones with black. I know it's complicated. So now what you do is you go back over to your layers. And you don't really need to understand. It helps to understand, but you don't have to understand. You just need to know what to do. So come back over to your layers. We're going to add a new layer on top by clicking the little plus button down here. So that gives us a new layer. And then we're going to fill, but before we fill, we want to invert the fill. So right now it's got all the alpha pixels selected. We want to fill the non-alpha pixels. And so to do that is you come up to select and you say select inverse. So now it's flipped our selection. So it's selected all of the non-alpha pixels, and then all we have to do is do edit, fill with black, and it's going to fill all of that with black, and it worked perfectly. So that's what it looks like. But you have this and this together, and so it's much darker than it would be normally. So you just turn this off so you can see, because you don't want this anymore. And then I don't want the white background anymore. This is just to show me what it looks like against a white background. So if you were to res this piece of furniture that has this floor shadow and you put it on a white background, this is what it would look like sitting there on the white background. And then if you put the furniture on a black background or a dark background, this is what you're going to see. Shadow on black is black. If you have floor shadows and you put them on a black surface and they come out gray, then you didn't do this process. You did another way of doing it, and they're not right. And you don't want that. You don't want gray floor shadows that show up on a black background because they look white. So, okay, turn off that. So you just have the top layer and the transparent layer. And there it is, our shadow against transparent. And then you're going to export that as a PNG. And you're just right over the one that you had before, floorshadow.ao. So just right over that. Okay, so that gives us the floor shadow. Now we can import all those files into Second Life. So let's go back over to Second Life, and we're going to go ahead and build, upload, bulk. And we're going to select all of those files. Boom. And they come into our textures folder. Okay, there they are. Now, if I just want to use these in my model to apply the AOs directly to the model in Blend Fong materials, I can just use them as is and drag them onto my model. So you can see the model came in with no textures on it. It's just solid white. but it has a color of gray. So everything came in gray, and I don't like that. So go ahead and set it to white. And then let's drag these on where they belong. So pillow 2 goes on pillow 2. Pillow 1 goes on pillow 1. Mattress goes on mattress. Headboard to headboard. Frame to frame. Footboard to footboard. And floor shadow to floor shadow. Oops. Oh yeah, okay. I'd already done that. So, and then comforter goes on the comforter. Okay, so now you can see this is the bed with all of the AOs on it. That's what it looks like if you just put the AOs on there. And then you can do this in Blend Fong, and you can't just put a texture on here, because when you do, you lose the AO. And I'll show you. So let me find a material that I can use. I think I saw one a little while. Microfiber. Let's do a microfiber. And then I saw one way down in here somewhere. I use microfiber a lot, so here we go. I'll just pick one. So I want to, this is the old school way of doing things, right? When SL first started, you could just drag textures and put them on things, but what happens is you lose all this shadow. So let's see, I'll show you. Boom. Okay, so I've just put this material on here and it lost all the shadow. So it looks very flat, and flat means there's no highlights, there's no shading, there's no shadows, there's no ambient occlusion on it, and it just looks flat. So if I did the whole thing, it would look okay, but it would look flat. Character, it doesn't have character because it's missing the AOs, right? You wouldn't put this on the wood anyway, right? Now, as things evolved and we became better at doing this stuff, we found, oh, you know what you can do is you can go into Photoshop and you can take one of these AOs. So let me go ahead and I'll just, I'll do it in the same. So I'm going to go ahead and load the comforter AO into this file, and there it is. Now I'm going to take that same image I just did, which is called this one right here, and I'm going to save it to my I'll save it in here so that I have it on my computer. And now I'm going to show you how you can make that texture blend with the AO. This is the Blend Fong way of doing things, right? So I have my comforter here, and then I just add a layer, and I'm going to import that image. Oh, I'm in black and white. So before I do that, let me go up to RGB, image mode, RGB, don't merge, rasterize. And then now I can import it. I should have done 16-bit. There it is. Now it's green. Okay, so that's what I mean. It looks flat, right? And so there's no character. There's nothing on here. It's just a flat texture, and that's what it looks like there. So how do I get this to combine with that? Well, you just put a multiply layer blend mask on here. So you go to blending options and pick multiply, or you could just do it right here in this drop down, just pick multiply. And so what that does is it takes this 2D texture, it combines it with the AO and generates a new image that looks like that, which we can then export, and we'll call it comforter with AO. And then I'll come back over here and I'll upload it. Okay. And that comes in here to my textures. And then I can just drag that on the comforter. And now you have the comforter with the AO applied, so it's blended together. So now there's one thing wrong with this. So if you'll notice, this grain of the microfiber is very, very, very big, right? So if I just go back and put the original microfiber on here without the shadows, I could adjust it. But now that I've got the AO on here, look what happens if I try to scale this image. So I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to go to texture, and I'm going to say I want to scale this. Let's make it 4 times, and 4 times on this. Well, now see, the grain of the microfiber looks better. It's not so big and bulky, but all these shadows now, they also scale down 4 times. So you can't do that. So you have to use it the way you import it, and you're stuck there. So go back to 1 on this. Okay. So what I would have to do is I have to go back in here, and I actually have to scale this image down, shrink it down twice, 50% twice. So basically scale it 4 times in here. So you have to do like Control T, and then you have to shrink this down, reproduce it to fill up the whole thing, merge that, shrink it down again, fill up the whole thing, and merge it. And it's a pain, right? But you have to do that. But that's what you have to do if you want to have your 2D texture with the AO combined together for blend Phong, right? And so I don't like that, and it gets really old very quickly. So let's go back and just put these back to where they were with the just the plain old AOs. Already got that. I don't need that. Footboard, frame, headboard, mattress, pillow 1, pillow 2. Okay, so there we go. Now we're back to square one. Okay, now if I just, let's go, I'll show you what I was talking about with that. If I just take that microfiber image that I used a minute ago, and I put it on here like that. It's a different color one this time. So because I don't have the AO in here, this is just a seamless texture. I can scale it. See, watch, if I go 4. Oops, I scaled the wrong thing. I scaled everything. Select face, select the comforter, scale the comforter. All right, so now the grain looks better, so it's a much better looking image, but there's no shading. And we're back to being flat again. So how can I have something much better than that? Well, PBR gives us the ability to do a lot more stuff like that. So what we're going to do is let's put that back to where it was with the comforter. Oops, because it's scaled. I have to unscale it. Select face. 1, 1. Okay. Now it's back to normal. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to look at, what if I, instead of doing this for blend Phong, let's see what happens when we start doing this for PBR. So let's go back to Substance Painter, and we're going to export again, but this time instead of picking my Second Life option, we're going to pick GLTF, PBR Metal Roughness, and then just hit export. Now this time it's going to generate a lot of stuff. There's a whole bunch of things that get created. All right, so it created materials, but it also created textures for each of the individual parts. So we're going to go in and look at what's inside this export folder, because it's kind of important to see. So if it says diffuse, well, I'll show you. Actually, let me delete everything, and I'm going to re-export it so that we only see the stuff that's for blend Phong, because we already did the, I mean, not blend Phong, we already did blend Phong. Now I just want to see the stuff for PBR, so just hit export again. Okay. So here we go. These are all the files that get generated. So you have a comforter base color, comforter emissive, normal, occlusion, roughness, metallic, which is great. It didn't used to say occlusion on there, but it includes the occlusion. So that has your AO in it. Your AO is in this file, as well as the information for the metallic and for roughness, which are the things that make it shiny. And you get those four things for each of the parts. And then there's also these files that it also generates, which are the GLTF, a GLB, and a binary file, which I don't even know what's in that. The one that we're going to care about is this one here. This is where the materials are at. So see, these are not materials. These are components to make materials. So let's go ahead and we're going to upload all of those, and they'll come into the textures folder. So let's do that first. I don't really have to have them, but we're going to play with them, and that's why I want you to see. So let's go back over here. And we're going to do build, upload, bulk. And we're going to pick all of these things down to here. These are what you might consider components, or the individual textures that are used inside the PBR material. And it's going to upload that. It takes a few minutes. As it's still doing it. And you notice on these, it didn't put Zephyr 2. It didn't put the save name. It doesn't show up in these. It will in a minute. It's in another way of doing this. Okay, so these are all the individual textures that go into creating your PBR materials. You don't have to use these, but you can use them if you want to make modifications or do something above and beyond. So let's look at what this comforter is. So this is the comforter base color. So it's just a off-white. Looks kind of gray. It's not really white. And then you have what's called emissive. It's just solid black because we don't have any emissive in this. Emissive is like it's like a glow. This is the normal. This is an image that defines the bumpiness. We don't have any bumpiness, so this is just a flat, smooth, kind of weird blue. And then this is called occlusion, roughness, metallic. So this has your AO. It has 3 different grayscale images combined into one, and they're assigned to different channels within this image. So if you think about an image, it has red elements, it has green elements, and it has blue elements combined together to give you the full color of the spectrum, right? And so the image actually splits those into 3 separate parts. They're called channels. So there's a red channel, which only has the red data. There's a blue channel, which only has the blue data, and a green channel, that's not in the right order, it's RGB. A green channel, which only has the green data. And when it blends those together, and you see it with your eye, you see all of them together, right? And so for each of those 3 channels, they have a different grayscale image being used. One of the grayscale images, what Second Life does when it looks at this file is it splits those channels into the 3 separate things. And it says, okay, the stuff that's in the red channel, that's a grayscale image for the shadow map or for the ambient occlusion. What's in the green channel? Well, that's a grayscale image that tells me how shiny to make this thing. And then the third one is a grayscale image, which tells me how metallic to make this. And so that's the 3 things together makes this one single image. And we're going to play with that in a minute. And then that's it. So that's the 4: base color, emissive, normal, and occlusion, roughness, metallic. All right. So I can create my own PBR material just by using these files. So if I want to, what I can do is, let's go ahead and see if we can do that. Let's do one for the comforter. I'm going to go select face, and I'm going to edit my comforter. And then I'm going to change from material type from textures. I'm going to change it to PBR metallic roughness. And you'll notice that it doesn't let me do it here. There's no, I don't see, that's copy. There's no like new or create, right? I don't see one. there could be one, but I don't know. But there is, if you go to your materials folder, you can do new material. And we'll call that comforter test. And then just double click it. And it brings it up in an editor. And you can see there's nothing in it. So let's go put something in it. So let's go back to our textures folder. And let's go grab the stuff for the comforter and start sticking it in here. All right, so you have comforter base color. We can put that here. Then you have comforter emissive. That goes down into the emissive. See, it says emissive here. This says base color here. And then this is normal, and normal's down here, so we drop it in there. And then this is the comforter occlusion roughness metallic. And this one says metallic roughness. Yeah, it doesn't say occlusion, but occlusion's part of it. So you grab that and drop it in here. Now we've created a new material. That's exactly what Substance Painter would have generated for us. Well, there's a couple things about this that I'm not necessarily thrilled with. One is, I'll show you. Let's go ahead and save this. So hit save. And now go back to the materials. And let's drag that and put it on our comforter. Okay, and there it is. So it's on there. I think it's loaded. It looks like it's loaded. But you'll notice it's kind of gray. And it does have some shading here from the ambient occlusion. You can see it down inside here. It's shadows. There's shadows in here. There's shadows under here. But it also has, it's really shiny. It's reflecting. It's reflective, right? And if I wanted this to be some kind of cotton or something like you would, wool maybe, it shouldn't be shiny. If I were to place a texture on this, you would see it. You would go, oh my gosh, that's like, looks like plastic, right? Well, why is that? You can really see it here. Why is that? It's because in this material that Substance Painter generated, this metallic roughness, the occlusion metallic, occlusion roughness metallic texture, they had a certain amount of metallic and a certain amount of roughness turned on, and that's why it's causing this. Now you have controls here where you can override it, and so it's counterintuitive, but 1 means the maximum amount. 0 means none, right? So if you say 1, this is for metallic. This one is for roughness. So 1 means the most metallic. So if I set this to 0, it becomes the least metallic. So I overrode it, but you know, it's still shiny, right? So this should say reflectiveness or shininess factor, 1.0 being the maximum. But it doesn't. It says roughness factor. And for roughness factor, a 1 means the most roughness you can have. And the most roughness you have means the least reflective it is. So if I want this to be really reflective, I have to put this to 0. So these are opposites. They have opposite meanings. So a 0 here means not shiny. A 0 here means super shiny. And that's where it's confusing. So a 1 means not shiny. Okay, so to make this be not shiny and not reflective and not sparkly, you put a 0 in this and a 1 in this, but it's still... let's go ahead and... I don't need to save it unless I want to keep a copy of it, so I'm not going to save it. Not yet. Keep editing. Let me go ahead and save. Okay, so I saved it. But it's still kind of shiny, right? It's not, maybe not as much as it was, but it's still pretty shiny. Still looks plastic. So the reason is because that image has different values set than what I can control with those parameters. The parameters really just go on top of it, but the image already has stuff in it. So how can I fix that? Well, in order to fix that, you have to go, you either have to do it separately, do it in Blender, do it some other way, or you have to go into Photoshop or GIMP and modify that image. So that's what I'm going to do. So we'll go in here, I'll turn these off, and then I'm going to just go back over there and I'm going to open up that. Well, I didn't need to close this out, I'm sorry. I'm just going to open up Comforter, Occlusion, Roughness, Metallic. So there it is. And it doesn't show it to us with 3 layers here. So you can't see the individual components that go into it unless you go to the channels. So if I go to channels, you can see this is the RGB channel, which is everything combined. This is the red channel, this is the green channel, and this is the blue channel. And so that's the image that's in there. So if I can turn this off, maybe we can see it. If I can turn that off. There you go. This is, okay, now it's showing the red. So that's the red. That's the AO. And there it is. There's my AO. Right? This is green. This is roughness. It's gray. That's why it's shiny. Black on this, I know this is confusing. Black on the, let's call this roughness. It says green, but let's call it roughness. Black on roughness means shiny. White on roughness means not shiny. Gray means 50% shiny. So we need to change this to white. So we're just going to select this and we're going to do edit, fill, white. Okay. And you notice that the output up here changed because I did that. Now let's talk about the bottom one. The bottom one is metallic. So black on metallic means not metallic. White on metallic means very metallic. A gray on metallic would mean 50% metallic. So we don't want it to be metallic for our cloth. So black is what we want. So the problem was the default output of Substance Painter put this at 50%, and I don't want it to be, I want it to be white. And this one should be black. And so we want all 3 of these, and there we go. So now this is what our image should look like. So we're going to export that. And we're going to go down to this one, and I'm going to put a 2 at the end so we know the difference between the 2. Okay, now if I go import that into Second Life, then I can edit this texture, select face, PBR Metallic, hit edit, and then I can drag my new image in here and then watch what happens to the bed. Boom, the shininess went away, right? So the shininess is now gone, and this is very matte, and that's what I want it to be like. Now, I can go back and edit it again, and I can add using these modifiers. So if I want this to become shiny now, I can drop this to 0. And it puts some shininess on there. So see how shiny it is now? Now I have the ability using those sliders to control how much of that reflection is there. And I can do the same thing with metallic. I can go in and adjust it as well if I want. And I can say, let's make metallic 0 and make this 1. And now there's no metallic and no shiny, and it's completely matte. The only other problem I have with it is it's gray, and I don't want it to be gray. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to edit, select face, if I can click on it, edit the material, and then I'm going to change this image. I don't like that. So I have a white image that I save. It's a 2048 by 2048 white image that I use to get high resolution shadows using specular in the old way. But I just have it here, so I'm going to save it. So I just put that. So that's white with AO. I know it still looks kind of gray, but that's as white as it's going to get. Now let's do this to all of the materials. I'm going to put this white in here. So let's just click on them. there's no material in there because I haven't created a material for it. So I would need to go in and create all of those materials like we just did for the rest of this bed so that they all have PBR materials on it. But there's a faster way of doing that too when you use Substance Painter. It did all of the work for me. Well, it did most of the work for me. So let's go ahead and go build, upload, material this time. And then we're going to, when you pick material, it shows you two files. And it doesn't, in Windows, it's not smart enough to know what the difference is. So it doesn't tell me. You just have to look at it and know, usually it's the one on top. And the file size gives it away. So this one is 25.9 megabytes. This one is only 23.6 kilobytes, right? So you want the bigger one, which is the one on top. That's where all the materials are stored. And then when you hit open, it's going to bring that into Second Life. Takes a little bit of time. Usually doesn't take that much time. Oh, there we go. I must not have hit it. There it is. So now it lets you select which one do you want to do. You want to do the individual one for each part, one by one, and then you have to do upload, pick it, 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 until you have all of them, or you can just do bulk at the bottom. Now, there's a limitation with doing bulk. When you do bulk, you can't edit them before you save them. When you do the individual ones, you can edit them and then save them. And so if you're making any changes to them, the changes get reflected in the material. So I will tell you this too. When you use Substance Painter and you export it, they all come in with the alpha mode set to blend, so they're transparent, and you have to change it to do that. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. I can override it later, but if you want it to actually be built into the material, you have to actually edit the material and save it, which we're going to do anyway, so it's fine. So let's just do bulk. And we'll bring them in. It takes a few minutes for them to get here. And now what it does is it goes back and it actually uploads those images again. So that's why you didn't really need to upload the component textures, the emissive, the normal, all of those things. You didn't really need to import them. I did it for you so that you could see that you can do that, but because it's uploading them now anyway. And when it uploads them this time, it actually puts the Zephyr Bed 2 label on the front of them, so it makes it easier to see where they are. So I'll show you that when it gets done. But yeah, you didn't. It's kind of a redundant step for us because I did it already. At least that part of this is the only way to get the material here, but it also uploads the underlying pieces too. So we're in the material folder here. And you can see there they are, Zephyr Bed 2, Zephyr Bed 2. This is Pillow 2, Pillow 1, mattress, headboard, frame, footboard, floor shadow, and comforter. We don't need the floor shadow. I'm never going to use it because I created my own. So this one we can delete. Okay. And then that's the rest of them. Now let's go back and look at the textures folder and you can see what I'm talking about. So here's all the component pieces. So it puts Zephyr Bed 2 in front of it. It says Pillow 2, and then it says this is the emissive, metallic, roughness, normal, base, blah, 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 blah. All of the different ones. So you have them that way too. So like I said, I didn't need to have uploaded this. All right. So let's go back up to the materials and we're going to apply these materials. So we're going to put pillow on here. Pillow on here. Mattress on here. Headboard, you might notice that it's starting to look kind of weird because it's alpha on alpha, so it's getting transparency. Frame, footboard, comforter. Okay, so there they are. They're all on there, but you can't tell. It doesn't look good for all one because it's all gray, and I don't like the gray. And it's transparent, so let's fix that. So we're going to go select face, and we're going to just start editing the parts. And we'll hit edit, and we'll bring this up. Let's go ahead and load that white 2048 over here. I'm going to drag that in. And then also right here next to it, it says alpha mode blend. Set that to opaque. Okay. And then there's no save here, but there is a save over here. So I can save this material if I want to. I'm not going to save it because I'm going to use a texture changer and it's going to handle all this stuff for me, so it's okay. So let's just go through and do the white part first. Let's pick all of them. White and opaque. White and opaque. White and opaque. Mattress, white, and you can save it when I'm done too. That's why I'm not saving it so far. I don't want to save emptying times. This is the comforter. We're going to do white and opaque, and then the footboard is going to get white and opaque. Did I do them all? Just make sure. Opaque, 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 opaque. Okay, they're all done. That one still looks really gray. Oh, it's got a gray for the metallic roughness now. I don't know why that's there. Shouldn't be. Now, we created our own metallic roughness, right, in Photoshop. So we're going to use that. That's the other thing we're going to change. So we're going to change this from being super shiny for the cloth. The wood I don't really care about, so we might not change that, but I am going to change it for this. And so I created an image, and it was called... No, not the material. Image. It's below all of these Zephyr birds. There it is. Comforter, occlusion, roughness, metallic 2. Boom. Drop that in here. Okay. So that looks good. Now, problem is the pillows and the mattress are also super shiny. So we need to do the same thing for them. So let's go back to our Photoshop file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to this red channel, and I'm going to import the, it's not here. So I shouldn't have deleted them because now I need them. Yeah, so I want to go take these AOs. Where are the AOs? Here they are. I'm going to take the mattress, pillow 1 and pillow 2 AOs, and I'm going to save them back out there. Save to... Let me just do one at a time. I don't like the save to in Firestorm. Save as. Save as. And save as. And that's done. Okay, so they're all out there now. All right, let's go back to Photoshop. And then now I'm just going to take what's in here, and I'm going to import the, it's called, it doesn't matter which one. Let's do mattress. Mattress AO. And then you have to scale it to be the right size because I'm doing a bigger image. Okay. But you'll notice that it put it on all of them, right? So that's not going to work. So what we have to do is something slightly different. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over, and you can either start a new image or you can do it in here. So we're going to delete this one. We're going to add 2 more channels, put this at the top, and then let's call this one roughness, or let's call it roughness green metallic blue. Instead of doing a label on this, I'm going to do a folder and move that to the top. Group, and I'll call that AO red, and then we'll put this inside of that. And is it in there? Yep. Okay. Now we'll set this for the group. Instead of pass through, set it to screen. And on blend options, set it to red only on channels. And instead of doing it on the individual file, you do it on the folder, because we're going to put multiple files in here. But then you come down to the green and you right click and do blending options, We're going to set this one to the green channel and set blend mode to screen. And then on the bottom one, we are going to go to blending options. We're going to set it to screen and just the blue channel. Okay. Now, remember what we talked about. What do you want these values to be? So green, we don't want any shine on this. So we want it to be very matte because it's cloth, right? So, and then we want to be able to control it within the material itself. So I don't want any shine. I don't want any reflection. So reflection is roughness, and roughness of 1 means no shine. So a 1 is white, and so we're going to come in here and we're going to do edit fill with white. And then for metallic, we don't want any metallic, and so black in this case would be no metallic. So we're going to fill this one with black. Okay, and so we have 3 things here. We have our red is our mattress with an AO. Then we have maximum roughness, no shininess, and no metallic. And then we're going to export this as an RGB image, and we're going to call it mattress occlusion roughness metallic 2. Okay. Now to do the pillows, all we need to do is put those files here. So let's hide this one, click here, and then import. And import the pillow AO, stretch it into size. It snaps in place, so just do it until it snaps. And then just export. Export, and we'll call this one pillow 1, occlusion roughness metallic 2. And then hide that one, and then import pillow 2 AO, which is right here, and stretch it to fit. And export that as this one, number 2. Okay, so now we have the new metallic roughness images for all of our cloth pieces. Let's go ahead and upload those with bulk upload. We're going to take this one, and this one, and upload them. And there they are. And now we're going to go select face on the pillow, edit. There's our material, and we're going to take pillow. This is pillow 1, so take the one from pillow 1 and drop it in. And then set metallic to 0 and roughness to 1. And do the same thing on this side. We're going to take that. Oh, we also want to, oh, it is white already. Okay. And then pillow 2, edit. And we want to do pillow 2 in here. Set that to 0 and that to 1. And then the mattress. Just go ahead. You don't have to exit out each time. You can just click between them and it changes. Right, so metallic on the mattress is this one. Set that to 0 and that to 1. Okay. So we have them done. Now we want to save these materials. We can go ahead and do that. So with the mattress selected, I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to call it Zephyr Bed 2 Mattress AO Low Shine. And then I'm going to do that for pillow 1. Save Zephyr Bed pillow 1 AO Low Shine. The low shine is just so I remember which one's which. And then the same thing for this one. Zephyr Bed 2 Pillow 2. We can spell AO Low Shine. And then lastly is the comforter which I don't think I saved. Zephyr to comforter AO motion. And then for the rest of the wood pieces, I don't mind a little bit of a shine. In fact, I actually want a little bit of a shine, so I'm going to leave them as they are. And now we have this thing textured with PBR materials that are essentially AOs. It's basically now we have PBR materials that replace the need for AOs. And if you remember when we did this with the Blend Fong AOs, if I put the AO on, I can no longer drag a 2D texture image on it and have the AO and the 2D texture blended. We had to go into Photoshop, we had to blend them, and then we had to bring it back in. And then once I put that on, I couldn't scale it anymore, right? So big problems. So let's see what happens now. So this is a good breaking point. I should put a chapter on this part of the video. So now we're going to edit this and we're going to apply some 2D textures. So, and it's almost as simple as drag and drop. So we're going to edit it. We're going to go up here and we'll look at this pillow. And let's put that microfiber. Let's go back and look for microfiber, the plushy microfiber. There we go. I think 27 is what we were using. So I can't drag it on there. It won't let me because this is a Blend Fong texture and this is a PBR material. So I cannot just drag this on there when there's a PBR material applied. I have to edit the material. So select face, select the pillow, hit edit. And this is where I can put my Blend Fong material. But where would I put it? Well, you just put it here. This is a solid white material that's being shown here. I want to replace that with this. So 27 was the brown one. All right, let's try 28. And you can sit here and experiment and go, well, how does it look? How does it look in this color? How does it look in that color? How about if I use this color? What does it look like? There it is, 30. That's the one. So 30 looks like that. Okay, well, what if I want to put it on the pillow? Okay, so put 30 on that one. Not the comforter. No, I don't want it on the comforter, but let's put it on the mattress. And so there we go. Now we have it on all three of these. But let's try it now and put it on the comforter. Oh, can't drag it there. I have to put it here, and then I can drag it on there. And let's look at it. Okay, so the scale of this is very different than the scale of that. So how do I get them to be similar? Well, I have to scale this down, and to do that, you select face, edit the comforter, and then instead of complete material, just click base color. Because if you do the complete material, it's like we did before, it's going to change the AO and everything, and we don't want that. So let's just change the base color and scale just the base color. And let's put a 4 in here and a 4 in there. And there it is. And the mattress looks like it could be scaled a little bit too, so let's go ahead and do that. Select face, and then we're going to go to base color, and then maybe try a 2 on that. There you go. And so those are scaled. And let's go look. I want to do some true good wood 222. That's my favorite wood. So let's go ahead and edit this, and we'll go to select face, and we'll take the wood, go back to complete material, hit edit, and then we're going to drag this into here and do that on all three pieces of wood. And then we're done. And there you go. Now it's completely textured. The wood has a little bit of a shine to it, which I like. See, you get a little bit of reflections. And the cloth parts don't. And that's all there is to it. So, seems like a lot of work, right? Well, it's not really, because why is it not a lot of work? Well, this is something that I'm doing as I'm starting to make prefab furniture for builders to use, and I'm encouraging other builders to do the same thing. That is, let's all start getting in the habit of creating these PBR AO materials and providing them with the furniture so that when people want to texture, all they have to do is start editing and dragging on the textures that they want, and everything is going to be gorgeous. It'll be fantastic. Now, you can make a lot better looking things if you have access to other tools and you can get in and do them manually, but it's not night and day difference between this and that, where there is a night and day difference between doing it that way and what we used to do. But this is so close to what you get doing it fully in something like Substance Painter. It's ridiculous how good this is, because that's all really Substance Painter is doing for us. All Substance Painter was really doing was combining the AO and the stuff into these material pieces, and this works great. So not only can you just drag on a 2D image, you also have the ability to scale it without affecting the AO, without affecting the normal, without affecting anything else, and just apply it and get it to work. And it looks great. So, all right, that's the end of the video, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you like this. Please like and subscribe if you want to hear more. Ring the notification bell. Let me know in Second Life what you thought, and if you have any questions. I know it was a lot to cover, and I went over it really fast. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.